Right now, as you watch this video, you believe you're sitting in a chair. You believe your eyes are processing light waves bouncing off a screen. You believe your brain is interpreting electrical signals as meaning. But what if I told you that everything you've ever experienced, every memory, every sensation, every thought you've called your own, might be nothing more than an elaborate construction? What if the very concept of knowing something is fundamentally flawed? Stay with me, because in the next minutes we're going to explore why everything you think you understand about existence might be built on foundations that don't exist. Welcome to a journey into the deepest questions of human existence. Today we're not just questioning what we know, we're questioning whether knowledge itself is possible. We're diving into the philosophical abyss where certainty dissolves and reality becomes a question mark. The ancient Greeks had a word, epistemon, the study of knowledge itself. But what they discovered, and what philosophers have grappled with for millennia, is that the more we examine knowledge, the more it slips through our fingers like sand. Consider this: every single thing you believe to be true right now came to you through your senses. Your eyes, your ears, your touch. These are your only windows to what you call reality. But what if these windows are funhouse mirrors, distorting everything they show you? Let's begin with what seems most obvious: your senses. Right now, you're seeing colors, but science tells us that color doesn't exist in the external world. What you call red is simply electromagnetic radiation at approximately 700 nanometers. Your brain creates the experience of redness. The rose isn't red, you are red. But it goes deeper. Your eyes can only detect a tiny sliver of the electromagnetic spectrum. You're essentially blind to most of what surrounds you. Infrared, ultraviolet, radio waves, gamma rays, entire universes of information washing over you constantly, completely invisible to your perception. And what about time? You experience it as a flowing river, moment by moment. But physics suggests time might be an illusion created by consciousness. Past, present, and future might exist simultaneously in what physicists call the block universe. Your experience of temporal flow could be nothing more than how your brain processes information sequentially. Space itself might be equally illusory. Quantum mechanics suggests that particles don't have definite positions until they're observed. The solid chair you're sitting on is mostly empty space, with electrons dancing in probability clouds around nuclei that are infinitesimally small compared to the atoms they inhabit. Your brain constructs a stable, coherent reality from these quantum uncertainties and electromagnetic waves. But this construction is so seamless, so convincing, that you mistake it for objective truth. Now we enter even stranger territory. You have this thing called consciousness, this inner experience of being you. But what is it? Despite centuries of investigation, consciousness remains what philosopher David Chalmers calls the hard problem. We can map every neuron in your brain, trace every electrical impulse, catalog every chemical reaction. But nowhere in this biological machinery do we find experience itself. The feeling of tasting chocolate, the redness of red, the pain of heartbreak. These subjective experiences seem to emerge from objective matter, but we have no idea how. Some philosophers argue that consciousness is fundamental to the universe, that matter itself might be conscious to some degree. Others suggest that consciousness is an emergent property, arising from complex information processing. But both views face the same mystery. How does subjective experience arise from objective reality? Here's where it gets truly unsettling. If consciousness is creating your experience of reality, then everything you know about the external world is filtered through this mysterious phenomenon. You never directly encounter reality. You only encounter your consciousness's interpretation of it. But wait, it gets stranger. Some interpretations of quantum mechanics suggest that consciousness plays a fundamental role in determining reality. The observer effect isn't just about measurement instruments, it might be about conscious observation itself. In this view, consciousness doesn't just perceive reality, it helps create it. Now let's venture into territory that sounds like science fiction but is taken seriously by philosophers and physicists. What if everything you experience is a simulation? Philosopher Nick Bostrom argues that if technological civilizations can create realistic simulations of conscious beings, they'll create many of them. If that's true, then most conscious beings would exist in simulations rather than base reality. Statistically, you're more likely to be in a simulation than in the original universe. But this raises profound questions. If you're in a simulation, what does real even mean? Your experiences feel real to you. Your relationships, your emotions, your struggles, they have meaning within the context of your existence. Does it matter if they're computed rather than somehow more fundamental? The simulation hypothesis also connects to ancient philosophical questions. Plato's allegory of the cave suggested that we mistake shadows on a wall for reality itself. Hindu philosophy speaks of Maya, the veil of illusion that obscures ultimate truth. Different cultures, different eras, but the same intuition. What we take for reality might be something else entirely. Modern physics adds another layer. If space and time are emergent properties of something more fundamental, if matter and energy are excitations in quantum fields, then our base reality might already be a kind of simulation. Patterns of information processing in a deeper computational substrate. Let's examine something you probably consider rock solid: your memories. You remember your childhood, your first day of school, what you had for breakfast. These memories form the foundation of your identity. But memory research reveals something startling. Every time you remember something, you're changing it. Memory isn't like a video recording. It's more like a Wikipedia page that gets edited every time someone reads it. Your brain reconstructs memories from scattered fragments, filling in gaps with assumptions and expectations. The memory you have of your 10th birthday isn't the same as the memory you had last year. It's been subtly rewritten. Studies show that people can develop vivid, detailed memories of events that never happened. Under the right conditions, you can be convinced that you were lost in a mall as a child, or that you saw Bugs Bunny at Disneyland, even though Bugs Bunny isn't a Disney character. If your memories are unreliable, then your entire sense of personal history might be constructed. The you that existed yesterday might be fundamentally different from the you today, connected only by a narrative thread that your brain weaves from unreliable fragments. But it goes deeper. Some philosophers argue that the self is nothing more than a stream of consciousness, a narrative continuity created by memory and anticipation. If memory is unreliable, then perhaps the self is an illusion. A story you tell yourself about a continuous identity that doesn't actually exist. Here's where philosophy meets the cutting edge of physics. In quantum mechanics, particles exist in superposition, multiple states simultaneously, until they're observed. The act of observation collapses the wave function, forcing the particle to choose a definite state. But who or what counts as an observer? Some interpretations suggest that consciousness is required. If that's true, then reality is fundamentally different when you're not looking at it. The moon might not have a definite position until you observe it. This creates a paradox. If consciousness is required for reality to have definite properties, then how did consciousness arise in the first place? How can a universe that requires observers to exist have evolved observers? Some physicists propose that consciousness and reality co-evolve, each creating the other in an endless loop. Others suggest that consciousness is more fundamental than matter, that mind, not matter, is the basic stuff of reality. These aren't just abstract philosophical puzzles. They point to something profound about the nature of existence. If reality requires consciousness to define it, then what you call objective reality might be a collaborative creation between mind and universe. As we near the end of our journey, let's consider perhaps the most profound question. If nothing you know is real in the way you thought, what does that mean for meaning itself? Language, the tool you use to think and communicate, is a system of arbitrary symbols that gain meaning through collective agreement. The word tree has no inherent connection to the tall, woody plants it represents. All meaning is constructed, provisional, dependent on context and interpretation. Your values, your purposes, your deepest convictions, all of these emerge from this constructed meaning system. They're real in their effects, real in their power to shape your choices and experiences. But they're not carved into the bedrock of reality. This isn't cause for despair, it's cause for wonder. If meaning is constructed, then you're not just discovering truth, you're participating in its creation. Every choice you make, every relationship you form, every moment of beauty you recognize is an act of world building. The universe might be stranger and more uncertain than you imagined. But that strangeness includes the miraculous fact that arrangements of matter can become conscious, can experience beauty, can create meaning from mystery. So we return to where we began, but transformed. You're still watching this video, still processing information, still experiencing consciousness. But now you might recognize these experiences as more mysterious and wonderful than you initially thought. Nothing you know is real in the simple, solid way you once believed. But perhaps that's what makes existence so extraordinary. You're not just observing reality. You're participating in its creation moment by moment, choice by choice. The next time you look at the world around you, remember, you're not just seeing what's there, you're seeing what you and the universe are creating together in this eternal dance between consciousness and cosmos.